Hey all, welcome back to my channel. So in today's session we are going to discuss about dynamic array. Okay, so I have already uploaded the video on what is static arrays, and if you didn't see that, I'll link that in the description box. You can go check it out there. Also, I have created a special playlist for System Verilog and as well as Verilog also. So the playlist name is System Verilog Tutorials. So you can go there and check it out. All my videos regarding System Verilog will be present there. Also, many of you are viewing this channel without subscribing it, so please consider subscribing it. It's just a request to you, because your subscription is kind of motivation for me to upload more and more such videos on all these courses. Okay, so please do consider subscribing and hit on the notification bell also, so that as soon as I upload the video you will be notified, right? So let's get into today's video, which is dynamic array. So we have already seen what is static array. Okay, in static array, as we already discussed, the memory is created during the compile time itself. That means all the allocation of memory is done during the compilation time. So now what happens in static array? What is the main disadvantage in static array? As we have discussed, that we can't change the size. Okay, because since it's already created during the compilation time, and then when we want to change the size of that particular array in the runtime, we can't do it in case of static arrays. So that is why we are coming to this dynamic arrays. So dynamicity, nothing but it is having more flexibility compared to that of static arrays. So what is the main thing here? In dynamic arrays, the memory allocation is done during the runtime but not during the compilation time. This is the main difference between static array and dynamic array. Okay, so in static array the memory is created during the compilation time, but in case of dynamic array the memory allocations are done during the runtime. So today we are going to see how are we going to allocate this memory during the runtime. And as we already discussed in the static array, we can't automatically delete the array, or we can't resize the array. So all these things can't be done in case of static array, but we can do all these things in our dynamic array. So today let us also see how are we going to resize the array, or how are we going to delete the array, what are the methods that we are going to use on all these arrays. Okay, so don't skip the video, watch till the end so that you will be understanding clearly what is the difference between static and dynamic array. Okay, so now let us start the dynamic array. So an array whose size can be changed during runtime, that is what. Okay, even if we want, we can change the array size during the runtime. Okay, that is why we are calling it as a dynamic. That means we can create it anytime, we can delete it anytime when we require. That is why it is flexible. That is why we call it as a dynamic array. Okay, the size of an array can be specified during runtime by using new method. Okay, this is very important. Okay, by calling this new method only, we will be declaring the size of the array. But in static array, we don't use all these methods. Okay, we will just declare the array and we'll just assign the values. Okay, so in dynamic array, we are going to declare the array by calling this new function or method, whatever it is. Okay, by default the size of dynamic array is 0 unless a new is called. That means when you are declaring the array, okay, the array is created but the memory locations won't be created. When the memory locations will be created? When you are calling the new method. Until and unless you call this new method in this dynamic array, your memory won't be allocated. Okay, since your memory won't be allocated, even though you have declared the array, even though the array is declared, the size of the array is 0, because you are not calling the new method. Until you call the new method, there won't be any allocation of memory. Clear? Yes, the space of a dynamic array doesn't exist until the array is explicitly created. That is what. That means the memory locations won't be created until we will be calling by using this new method. Clear? This is useful and one of the main advantage, as we already told you in the dynamic array. So basically in static array you already know that the size is fixed. Okay, that means we are creating the memory allocations at the starting itself. So when we are creating the memory locations, it is not guaranteed that we'll use all those memory locations, is it or not? So there may be wastage of memory in case of static arrays, but that won't happen in dynamic arrays. Why is it? Because we are allocating the memory allocations during the runtime. So when you are running a particular code, then you'll have an idea like how many memory locations do we need in order to store these elements. So according to that you will be creating the memory locations. But when you are compiling, when you are at the compilation time, you will be creating the memory locations more. Like we it's just like, okay, if we have more elements we need to store it, that is why you will be creating it more compared to what we need. But that won't happen in dynamic array. That is why the memory usage is limited in dynamic array. That means there won't be any wastage in case of dynamic array. But in case of static array, this memory wastage is a lot. Okay, clear? Right? So when we create a dynamic array, and this is another important difference in dynamic array. What is that? In dynamic array we must always declare it as an unpacked type array. I already discussed about what is packed and unpacked array. Okay, I in the previous session. Okay, as I told you, I link that in the description box, you can go check it out there, because I have also given the tip on how to know the difference between packed array and unpacked array. You can also go check it out. Okay, and also, okay, in static array one of the thing that we should remember is, so static array, the memory allocations can be done either in a packed way or in unpacked way. Okay, either you can declare it in unpacked manner or else it is in a packed array. But in case of dynamic array, whatever memory allocations you are doing, they all will be done as an unpacked type array. Okay, I'll also tell the reason behind this. Why? Because as you already know, for dynamic array the allocation is done during the compilation time. Okay, so during the compilation time there may be there may be or may not be a continuous memory locations that are allocated. Okay, that are left for giving for this dynamic array. So that is why, since compilation time comes first, so everything, all the memory continuous memory locations are allocated to static array. Okay, then comes the simulation time. So you could remember this like this, you could remember it like this, so that it will be easy for you. Like when anyone asks you in interview whether you can use packed array or unpacked array in dynamic array, you can just remember it like that. First comes the simulation time, sorry, compilation time. So in compilation time all the continuous arrays are given for the static array. So that is why then comes the simulation time, where the simulation time is after compilation time. So there may or may not be the continuous chunk of memories for giving to your dynamic array. So that is why in dynamic array we will be having more chances of unpacked type array. Clear? Yes. So this is about static and dynamic array. So now let us see how are we going to declare. As I already told you, we'll be declaring by calling a function called new. Okay, this is the keyword new with square brackets, empty square brackets, or any number within this, so that those many memory locations will be allocated. Okay, we'll see the syntaxes of how we are going to declare the array, how we are going to allocate the memory locations, and how we are going to assign the values. Now if you see, first, before seeing this example, let us see this one short, so that it will be easily understood for you. So the declaration is in this way. Like if you see D array of empty braces, okay, where each of it can hold 8 bits of memory. Clear? Yes. So D array is my array, right? And this is how you will be declaring the dynamic array. Okay, so from the declaration itself you have to know whether it is a dynamic array or whether it is associative array or whether it is a queue or whether it is static array. So declaration is very important for arrays. Mostly when anyone asks you in interviews, they will be asking this only, like they will be declaring this type of array and they will be asking you what is this type array, like whether it is a dynamic array or associative array or a queue or static array. So whenever you have seen any array, okay, with an empty square brackets, then you have to consider that as a dynamic array. Got it? This is a tip for you. Okay, whenever there is a empty square brackets, then it is by default a dynamic array. Okay, now you have declared the dynamic array. Now after declaring, you will be allocating the memory locations, right? You can allocate it at any point of code you want. Okay, in static array you can't do that. You have to declare here itself, like you will be declaring some 4 or something. That means here you are allocating it at the starting during the compilation time itself. But in dynamic array, that is the disadvantage. You can allocate this at any point of your code. So what is my array? You can just allocate it in this way, like d array, that is the name of the array, equal to, okay, new of 4. So now what happens, since you have given 4, so 4 memory locations are allocated. Clear? Now after allocating, you need to initialize the value. Just like you do the initialization is nothing but assigning the values. Okay, just like how you allocate it in the static array, similarly you will be allocating it here also. So these are the values you are allocating for this particular array. Clear? Yes, this is how you will be declaring, allocating the memory locations and assigning the values to that particular array. Now if you see here, these are my two arrays. Okay, two dynamic arrays. Okay, this is my first array, which is of d array 1. Okay, and then d array of 2. Okay, this is how you will be declaring the arrays with empty braces, empty square brackets. Okay, and then for memory allocation, what you will do, you will just write the name of the array equal to new of how many memory locations you want. You can give those many memory locations. Like for for my first array it is of 4 memory locations. Okay, and for my second it is of 6 memory locations. Now I want to initialize to my first, so how you will be doing that? D array of 1 equal to, you will be assigning the values. Okay, so this is how you will be. For the second array, what have I done? If you see here, I have used the for each loop in order to assign the values. That means whatever memory location that is there in J, that will be allocated to this particular D array of J. Clear? So this is how the memory allocation and array initialization is done. Now let us see a small example for this, so that you will be much more clearer how the allocation and all is done. So we will be writing a code for this module tb, okay, int array of empty brackets. So this is my dynamic array with name array. Okay, now initial begin. This is what, if you see here, this is the main difference here. In case of static array, what you will be doing, before initial begin only, you have to give the size of the array itself, like 5, 6. Okay, this is the static array, but this is the dynamic array. That means in dynamic array you will be using this square brackets. Okay, and then within initial and begin, okay, you will be allocating the memory locations, like array equal to new of 5. Now what happens? So total 5 memory locations are being created. Clear? For array, 5 memory locations are being created. Okay, if you didn't call this particular function, what happens? If you didn't call this particular function, then this array value will be, this array memory locations are 0, not value. Memory locations are zeros because you didn't call the new function, so no memory locations will be allocated. Since there are no memory allocations done, how can you store without creating the memory? How can you store values in that memory? Is it or not? So that is why first you have to, after declaring, first you have to create the memory allocations. Okay, create the memory and then store the elements in that memory. So here new of 5, that means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are my indexes. Okay, Clear? So this is my array. Now I want to assign the values, nothing but initialize the values. So what happens? 31, 67, 10, 4, 99. Clear? So in this is how you will be taking the values, and for each array of I. Now in order to display all these values, I am just writing for each loop. Okay, display I array of I. Now what happens? Array of 0 is, see, 31, 67, 10, 4, 99. So all these values will be displayed in this manner. Clear? So this is how you will be declaring the array and assigning the values in the array. Okay, you can do it in this way. Like, this is just a basic program when you are a beginner and when you are writing when you are learning system verilog for the first time. Okay, basically this is how you will be writing the code. Okay, this code can also be written in many ways. Okay, this is another way. Okay, this is another way for writing the code here. Like, if you see here, module dynamic array int array of 1. Okay, so this is my array, right? Initial begin, and then for this array, instead of creating the new, I have just assigned the values. Okay, you can do this. Like, basically this is the advanced features in system verilog, like just like updated version. Okay, in system verilog, like in the old version, you should call this new function, but in the advanced versions of system verilog, like in LRMs, in the latest version LRMs, you, instead of calling the new, if you are assigning the values, so according to the values that you are assigning, the size will be created automatically. But you don't prefer, when you are a beginner, don't prefer this method. Okay, try to call the new method, try to call the new function and then assign the values. Okay, but as you already, if you are a person who already knows system verilog and you just want to have a brush up on these concepts, then this is a, then you understand what I mean. Like, if you already know about system verilog advanced versions, then you know that this is a way for doing that. Okay, but if you are a beginner, don't try to write in this way. Try to write any code of dynamic array in this manner. Clear? Yes. If you are still having any doubts on this, you can comment me in the comment box. Okay, so as we already discussed, so in dynamic array there are many advantages. So what are that? As I already told you, we can delete the array whenever we require, or we can resize. Resize means we can extend the size, or we can cut the size, or we can delete the size. So whatever we want, we can do during the runtime. So these are advantages, but we should also know how we should do this. Okay, so first thing is resizing the array. How are we going to resize the array? Okay, so this is the example for the see. Let me explain this in a step-by-step manner. So you already know how to declare the dynamic array now. Okay, like dynamic array square brackets, and then you will be creating the memory locations. Okay, if you see here, new of 4, so what happens? 4 memory locations are created. Okay, and within this 4 memory locations, I am assigning the values 0, 1, 2, 3. Now what happens? If I want to increase my size from 4 to 10, that means I want to increase my memory location size from 4 to 10. You can do it by just giving the array of new of 10. Okay, but when you are giving this particular thing, what happens means all the previous values, that means if you are, whatever you are giving here, 0, 1, 2, 3, so all these values are overridden. That means all these values are erased, and again the fresh 10 memory locations are being allocated. But there may be situation where you want to add the memory locations, okay, but you don't want the old data to be deleted. Okay, then there is also chance here. How can you do that? Okay, new of 10, nothing but new of 10, along with new of 10 you will be writing within the brackets. Okay, the array, nothing but the name of the array. Now what happens? I'll be having total of 10 memory locations, in which I will also have the array memory locations. So the total 4 memory locations are the old ones. Okay, and then the remaining 6 memory locations will be the newer ones. Got my point? Yes, this is how. So when you want to override, when there is a chance for you to override the values, you can just go on with this way. But when you want to retain the old values also, then for this, after this, you will be writing within the braces, you will be writing the old array name also. Clear? So this is how basically the resizing of the array is done. Okay, now let us see an example on how we are going to resize the array, or how we are going to know the size of the array. Because in dynamic array, as I already told you, we will be giving it during the simulation time. So when anyone want to know the size what you have given, or what is the size of the array, or if you want to delete the size, that size, they can also do this by using various methods in dynamic array. Okay, just we have seen the string methods, is it or not? Similarly, we are having some dynamic array methods. By calling those methods, we will be using this particular thing here, right? If you see here, example module tb string fruits. So if you see this program here, this is string data type. So this fruits can hold the characters, like it can hold the names. Okay, not numbers, but it will be holding the names. Okay, initial begin, right? So fruits new of 3. Okay, here then now what happens? 3 memory locations are created. 0, 1, 2 memory locations. Okay, now within these memory locations, what I am assigning, I am assigning the names. Because it is of string data type, I will be having names. So within the double braces, individual. Now in this 0, apple will be stored, orange will be stored, and then mango will be stored. Okay, clear? Now I want to display the size of this fruits variable. Okay, now what happens? Fruits, you will be giving it. So in the strings, while I have explained you about strings, I have already told you, whenever you want to call a particular method in any thing, like in either strings or dynamic arrays or associated arrays, queues, whatever it is, either in classes also, whenever you want to call something, you should use it by dot symbol. Okay, so if you see here, fruits dot, that means I want to know the size of this fruits variable. Fruits dot size. Okay, size is already predefined method in system verilog. So now what happens, as soon as you are calling fruits dot size, then it will be declaring what is the size of my fruits variable. If you see, what is the size here? 3. So 3 is given. Clear? Again, if you see in the second, again I am displaying like fruits dot size, but why is the value 0? Because I have called the function like fruits dot delete. Okay, in this particular dynamic function, okay, you are having some methods like, in order to know the size, you will be giving like array dot size. Okay, in order to know the size of the array, you will be using this method, array dot size. Okay, and in order to delete the array, you will be using array dot delete method. Okay, so whenever you are using array dot delete, that means array is nothing but array name. Fruits dot delete. So entire memory locations will be deleted. So since there are no memory locations, so it will be 0. Is it or not? Yes. So this is how the size of the array, and in order to delete the array, you will be calling these functions. Okay. Now let us see what we have to do if we want to add new items in dynamic array. Okay, so we have already seen this example, like in the before I have this. Okay, for this example I am just giving you example with the code, so that it will be giving much more clarity to you. Okay, so here if you have seen, I have taken two dynamic arrays. One is with array and one is with id name. Okay, now if you see my array, I have taken 5. So I have taken 5 memory locations, right? So these are my 5 memory locations. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so within this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, what are the values that I am storing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, Clear? Now I am taking ID, but if you see here, I didn't create any memory locations for ID, but what I am doing, whatever that is there in array, I am just copying it to ID. Now this is my array. Okay, for ID, what I have done, I have just copied whatever that is there in my array. I have just copied it like this. Okay, so now what happens? If you see here, whatever that is there in my ID here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you see, I didn't give anything for my ID. But again, even though I didn't give anything, why is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Because I have copied whatever that is there in my array. I have copied it to my ID. So my ID values now will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have displayed it. Right now I want to resize my ID. Okay, how am I going to do it? New ID dot size. Now what is the size of ID? 5. Is it or not? Yes. So plus 1. So basically you can just give it like new of 6. Okay, but I want to retain my old values also. So you can actually give it like this: ID new of 6 of ID. But I am just not using a number, but I am just using the name, so that it may be having further uses like for reusing purposes and all. So whenever I change my size value, automatically this ID value is also changed automatically. So that is why instead of giving number, I am preferring here to give a variable id dot size. Now if you see here, I am increasing my memory location, one memory location, just that's it. I didn't do anything here. I have just increased by 1. Okay, and now I want to assign a value in it. So what is the value I am assigning? In order to assign value, id of id dot size minus 1. Why? Because if you see the size of the id now, what is the id size? 6. But I want to store the memory location in what is the memory assign index here? This is 5. So that is why id dot size minus 1. That means 6 minus 1. That is fifth memory location. In the fifth memory location, I want to assign the value 6. So this is my give. Instead of doing this entire thing, you can just write as id of 5 equal to 6. You can just write it like this. But here is just like a idea for you, like how we can write it. Even though the code is complicated or easy, you try to understand it. That is the main concept here. Okay, so there are many ways in writing the code. In order to make you understand, there are many ways in writing the code. They have given this such example. Okay, now I am displaying my new ID. If you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is this my new ID? Yes, so that is displayed here. Okay, now after displaying this, I want to display two arrays. What are those? Array size, id size. If you see here, what is my array size? My array size is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So and then my id size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So array size is 5, id size is 6. Okay, clear? Yes. So this is the example for how to add and delete the items. Okay, so this is another example for copying. Okay, we have already discussed this in this. Okay, this is just a basic example. See, I have taken two arrays, array 1 and array 2, and in array 1 I have taken 3 memory locations and I have assigned values like 1, 2, 3. Okay, then in the array 2, I didn't give any allocations and all, but I just simply copied whatever that is there in array 1. I have simply copied it to array 2 and I have displayed the values. Clear? Yes. So basically this is how you will be copying the elements in dynamic array. Okay, these are some more examples. So I'll be explaining, like tomorrow we'll be going to write a code on dynamic array. At that point of time I'll be explaining how we will be using these. Okay, you already know about these arrays and all, like since we have already discussed about how to declare the size, how to resize and all. So if you want, you can just pause this video and try to analyze it. Okay, like these two things. If you like if you can't analyze it, I'll be explaining this on the EDA playground in the next session, right? And also in next session we'll be discussing, like we'll be explaining the video on this sorry, the explanation of this code, and then we'll see the differences between dynamic array and static arrays. Yes, so that is all for today. Thank you.